Akwaba, welcome to Tikyiile Talks. This is a platform where I, Tikyiile, have conversations with people from different walks of life who share their thoughts and pass their story thus far. I hope you enjoy. So welcome back to Tikyiile Talks. This is episode 2. Today we've got Adam Lee, the creator of Jun. So we'll get straight into it. Adam, before we even start and talk about your brand, I'd like to talk about what your fashion sense was when you were younger as a kid.
Yeah, of course. Sort of where I got
what kind of things you're wearing when you're younger?
Well, like fashion sort of goes through many different phases. I'm sure like as a 13-year-old almost 10 years ago,
right,
we were wearing completely different clothes to what we are now. Like I think at school when we first met, I was wearing like the tight skinny jeans and sort of the top man button up t-shirts and stuff like that. But I reckon it's ever since like a young age, something that I've always taken a bit of time to. Sort of the closest shopping centres that we've got, I'd always go shopping with my mum on Sundays. So I think it was just a natural progression over the years, like going shopping out with my mum and then sort of going through teenage years.
Right.
You start to care about your appearance a bit more. Yeah, of course. And I think you try to impress like other people, and I think you sort of compensate for what you don't have with height. I think growing up I never had. I think clothing was one of those things that you could express yourself a little bit more, and I think ever since a young age I've just always been into it. So that's sort of where it's come from.
Yeah, because I remember, because Adam and I went to school, and I remember seeing him thinking, this guy is always ahead of the trend. I was even looking at his Instagram page the other day, and I was looking at some things you had like in 2014. I was thinking, people aren't even wearing that anymore. Like it's crazy. So you obviously, I think, the people back in the day were probably wearing, the Hollisters.
Yeah, true. That's true.
The Top Man a lot.
Yeah.
But then you were wearing your Gucci, your Babe, your Palace, and I was thinking, I didn't even know about these things back in. So how would you say you knew about the?
It was very early days. I think when I was 12, 13, I was always looking at sort of the Far East culture more so than ours. So Japanese clothing, even Chinese clothing.
Right.
And every time I used to go back to Hong Kong, because my parents are from over there, you see that side of fashion a lot more than you do this side. And Bape it's been going ever since, I think, like the early 2000s. Yeah. So that was always knocking about in China. So it was always something where I was like, oh, what's that? Like, we've not got that here, so let's sort of bring that back here. And that's sort of where it's come from, sort of the early days of wearing more fashionable things. And I think sort of from a young age I've always liked doing things that other people haven't really got. Like, I don't care if it's mainstream or not. Like,
let's be yourself.
Yeah, of course. Like, always be yourself. If that's what you like, then wear it. So
why do you think the Far East, they're probably sit ahead of the curve before us?
I don't know. I think they're just more. They've got a closer sense to what good quality is. So like Bape, they've always had like an influence with Pharrell, the guy who runs Nego. He's always like, I've always based sort of how I dress on what his mentality is. There's a video where he goes,
is this Nego or Pharrell?
Nego. Like, he made his brand from the start, Bape. Just making t-shirts for his friends. He didn't sort of set out, you know what, I want to be a fashion designer, I'm just going to make stuff, and like if my friends want to wear it like with cool designs or whatnot, they'll wear it. And I'm sort of like that. I don't care about fashion. If I like the print or like the quality, I'll wear it.
Okay. So you say Nego's been probably one of your biggest influences in terms of fashion?
Yeah, I'd say so. Maybe not in terms of what he wears now. He's sort of moved on, and he wears like quite wide, boxy trousers and that. I sort of take it from different things now.
Okay.
And
so what do you say your top 3 or 5 would be, as in people that you see and you dress around, or you like their mentality of fashion?
There's, so on trend right now, personally, not so much I follow how they wear clothes, but I'll maybe take influencers and sort of have a look at their pages on Instagram sort of going through the day or whatnot for influence, I'd go on. There's a brand called Droll de Monsieur. I've been following the guy who runs that, called Al Carouse. I'm not sure if his page is still that, but he's got good clothes. Cole Buxton at the moment, they're doing some cool stuff. Just things that I like to see on Instagram. Anything really that I see.
And what do you think?
They're the main guys, I think.
Why do you think you're more attracted to those kind of things compared to the more mainstream or other things?
So I think it's the subtlety of them not really giving a fuck, really.
Right.
Can I swear?
Well, you have. So.
Sorry. Just bleep that out. I think they just don't care. They'll put like a suit on with a pair of trainers.
Right, like Frank Ocean did that.
Exactly. And turn up to the Grammys, was it? Yeah. Wearing just a Prada tracksuit.
Yeah.
Like, who does that? That's the sort of thing that I like, sort of going outside the norms. I think it's just sort of mixing, at the moment, streetwear with sort of the more modern, timeless pieces. So you see like tailoring, companies like Reese or Savile Row, like the proper high-end tailors, they've started to introduce contemporary clothes, and I think that mix hits the nail on the head for me, where you can sort of wear smart clothes and then wear trainers at the same time, because that's
the best of both worlds.
Yeah, of course. That's sort of where I like to fit my fashion sense, I think.
Right, okay. And in terms of, so you obviously, that's how you dress. Well, that's how you're dressing now, and you mentioned how you dressed when you were younger. So you in school, and did you get a job in fashion at that time, or was it later on?
Yeah. So that's probably helped progress where I've got to now, in terms of how much I like following fashion. When I finished school, I think it was during school, which I probably shouldn't have done during A levels. Yeah, I got a job at Reese.
Yeah. That's an interesting one, because I still remember to this day. We were both on the field, and I think you either going to or coming from the interview.
Yeah.
And you came in the whole suit. I was thinking, this guy is in school. It's just, I thought, no, something's going on here. So you have to tell us about that.
Yeah. So I think I was 17 or 18 at the time. It was my first real job. Right. Sort of growing up working in my mum's takeaway, I was like, you know what, I'm done smelling of like Chinese food. So I decided to go to Meadowhall and apply for jobs. And I walked in and just said, look, have you got any jobs? And they were like, yeah, we actually need someone there. And then carried on working for them for about 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Before we get into that, do you think, because obviously you weren't the only person who applied for Reese.
Yeah.
Do you know why they probably picked you? Do you think do you know have a reason what made you stand out, you say?
I reckon it's just self-confidence in sort of how you are, really. Sort of going in for the interview, you've got to go in thinking, I've got this. You've got to prepare and obviously look the part as well. Okay. You can't exactly rock up to a Reese interview.
Very short.
Exactly. So you got to do your research and sort of wear similar clothing and just go in with good confidence.
Okay. So how was your time in Reese like? What do you think? What did you learn?
It was good. Yeah, very good. Enjoyed working in retail. I think I'd recommend it to anyone that's wanting to earn a bit of money, but at the same time do something on the side, because it's not exactly the hardest job, but at the same time it gives you a bit of free time to do things elsewhere. So I was there for the whole of university, learned many skills such as tailoring, how to style clothes, how to put things together. So lots of skills that you can sort of use in later life as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you mentioned uni. What did you study in uni?
Studied retail management. Okay,
so that helped very well with what you do.
Yeah, exactly. Originally, I wanted to do fashion management, which is business management focused on fashion brands. But then didn't quite get the grades at at A levels, which I was fine with. So decided to go for retail management, which was exactly the same as fashion, but you just used retailers instead
of
yeah.
So before we even get to John just then, so would you still want to go to fashion school?
I think potentially not, given where I'm at the moment.
Okay.
However, I'm never in a position to say that I couldn't learn more skills. Okay. So I'll happily take the time out, maybe go on YouTube and watch tutorials on how to do things. I'm a big advocate for believing that you don't know everything. Yeah, so I'm always learning new things. I'm no fashion designer myself, so I'll go on YouTube or read books to make sure that I know different things where appropriate. Yeah.
Would you say, because obviously not every designer goes to fashion school, would you say it's needed, or do you see the advantage of going and paying that extra money to do it?
I completely see the advantages of going to fashion school if you want to become a high-end fashion designer and actually make clothes made to measure and actually making them from scratch. Like cut and sew, where you actually make the patterns and cut them out. Okay. And that, for me, isn't as quick as how I'd want to make fashion for myself. However, I think if you know from an early age and want to go to fashion school, brilliant, because you're chasing your dream from an early age. Yeah. However, I sort of ummed and ahed about doing fashion, even up to uni.
Why is that?
I think social pressures and perhaps the friends that I hung around with maybe didn't allow me to be the person that I really wanted to be. And I'm sure there are many of you guys that are in similar positions where your friends tell you not to do this course or maybe not to do that subject. And I'll probably admit that during school, I perhaps took the wrong subjects and got pressured into maybe doing sport or something else, which I was also good at, but I think deep down, that's not where my heart was. So I probably paid a few years worth of not doing exactly what I wanted to do, and now start to get back onto that road.
So you think since you've left school and now there's no the pressure of your friends or the community, you've now been able to, you feel like the chains are unbound, like you're stress free, you can do what you really want to do.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you leave school and start to become sort of the person that you want to be a lot more, and you spend less time with your friends that you thought were your close friends, and perhaps meet new people, either in work, uni, or wherever it is, you start to question who you actually want to be. Right. I think that was sort of the snapshot when I left and went to uni and thought, you know what, I want to start doing my own thing.
Yeah, you reborn yourself as such. Yeah, that's really interesting. So where would you say the first idea of John came from?
So we had a module in university where we had to show leadership skills, and we had to basically log any actions that we did to show leadership. And it was one of those moments where you're probably 7 nights before the deadline at uni and thinking, what should I do here? And then it was almost like the penny just dropped and thought, well, why don't I just start making some clothes? I've always been into clothes. Right. Why don't I actually try making it? So I researched it, looked into detail at what manufacturers to use, how to make a logo, etc., etc., and then the rest goes from there.
How hard would you say it is? Because everybody says, I want to make a t-shirt, I want to do that, but then they go to the local whatever store and get something printed. But that's alright if it's just, I don't know, for you and your friends, but if you're trying to make something big, how hard would you say it is to actually look for a brand manufacturer and the text and the fonts?
Probably the hardest part of fashion that you don't see. It's all the groundwork, going to each different manufacturer to see how the product's made, and it's hard.
You've done the hours.
Yeah,
you can see
exactly,
your face. You've definitely done the hours.
It's tough.
So could you show us some of your clothing you said you
Yeah,
bought
of
some
course.
today?
So the stuff on this side here, which we'll just go through very quickly. It's that's the first stuff that I made for the first collection, which I still make. So that's the cap that actually sparked everything off. It was one of those things where I was going to a event at university, sort of like a house music event, and really needed a cap, but I just thought I'd make my own, and that's the logo that I created sort of from day one.
That's the first.
Yeah, that's the first item, that's the first piece that sort of sparked it all off, the cap. So I made many more caps after that, and then after the cap, it went on to the white t-shirt, which I've redefined over and over again. I think I've gone through 3 samples to get to this t-shirt now. And then we do the same t-shirt in various colorways that I'm about to release as well.
And what's the price range? Point to.
Yeah, so the price range for the short sleeve t-shirts are 25, and then the cap is only 20, which is usually a bit cheaper than
both
the others.
Yeah.
Reasonable. Yeah. And then I've got a new collection which I'm developing now for the end of the year to come out, so for autumn winter, and that's one of the pieces that I've managed to get in so far. I've got quite a few new bits coming in, which I'm really excited to show you guys as well. But that's sort of one of them.
So Adam showed me that earlier on, and I was even impressed with the fine detail you actually made with the collar and having it properly done. So that was really cool. And how much is that going to be when that comes out?
The sweatshirt's 50.
Okay.
So it's well under sort of the market
Retailing price.
Retail price, yeah, of course.
So with Jun, what does Jun mean? What is the logo? What does Jun mean?
So surprisingly, not many people know that I have a Chinese name. Well, it's a bit obvious that I will have one, but so my first name isn't Adam, it's actually Nei Jun.
Okay.
So Jun's my middle name, and then the logo at the top, the Chinese writing, is actually Nei. Nei is actually the meaning of art in Chinese.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, why not put my first name as the logo, because it's quite artistic, and what a better way for the word to actually mean art.
Exactly, that's really cool.
So yeah, it's basically my name but in Chinese.
So what would you say, Jun, if somebody says what does Jun mean, as in what does the brand symbolize and represent, what would you say?
So I'm trying to cross the border between, quite literally actually, and bring East meets West.
Okay.
So I'm trying to translate sort of my roots from my family and sort of transition that into sort of today's society, sort of the Western culture. So I want to make smart clothing which has Chinese heritage behind.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to sort of combine those together.
So it's like what you do when you're younger, go to China and bring your stuff and come
that's
over.
it, exactly.
And it's coming over again.
That's
10
it.
years later.
And I'm just trying to bring that through the stuff that I'm doing now.
That's great. How did your family and your friends take to you starting a new brand?
To be honest with you, that's probably been one of the biggest supports of me actually doing the brand itself. It's tough to sort of go after something that
the unknown.
Exactly, it's completely unknown. But my friends and close friends, they've been so supportive from day one, like yourself. You've been a big supporter of the brand, and that's the reason why I keep doing it. There are people out there that want to help me, and they actually see the potential in it as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Would you say there have been any people, or there have been moments where you've been scared to bring it out because you're scared of how people react, or the
Yeah, of course. I think that's one of the biggest issues when it's if you're making clothes, is feedback from peers or feedback from anyone really, because there's been tens and thousands of designs that I've sent to my best friends to say, which one do you think? Do you think this one or this one? And at the end of the day, you've got an idea in the back of your head which one you want them to choose. Yeah. So you've sent 5 logos, and you want you know probably the second logo is the one that you want everyone to like, and they don't pick that one. They pick the deadest one, and you're like, I'm not sure. Yeah. Exactly. And then so at the back of my mind, I just think, you know what? At the end of the day, I want it to go for that number 2, so I'm just gonna go with that one. Yeah. So I've just got to the point where now I don't even send people pictures of what I want to make. I just think, right, I've got an idea of what I want to make next. I'm just gonna make it.
And that's not easy as well, because it's very easy to do something and then show somebody, and then it's not what you want to do, but because they picked it, said, all right, I'll do it. But then you're trusting in yourself now, that you're trusting in your product.
I think that's key. I think you know deep down whether it's a good decision or not from the split second that you've already thought about it. So don't ask your mates.
State your truth.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, I remember I read somewhere, I think Ed Sheeran, his friends were even saying, oh, you shouldn't part of this certain song, wasn't that good or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think it ended up being something like either Lego House or one of these big songs.
Yeah.
So imagine if you listen to his songs back then.
Exactly.
The same situation here.
Yeah, exactly. And that I think there comes a point where you rely on other people's opinions of what's right or what's wrong. Just do it. Like, if you make a mistake, at least you've done it, and you can rectify that. Like, I've gone through tens and thousands of t-shirts and gone through so many that I thought, why did I make that? But at least I did it, and I can move on from that. Whereas I reckon a lot of people waste time by and ahhing about something and never actually doing it. So
that's very true. It's very easy to sit home in your own comfort zone and say, oh, I could do this, but I'm scared what this person will say. Or if I showed that person, one person liked it, but the person you wanted to like it didn't like it. So I admire you for starting it.
Thank you. Still very early days though.
Yeah, because it started what? How long ago would you say it started?
So I started it in 2017 when I was at uni, and it's been one of those things where I don't do it full time. So every spare day that I have, I try and work on it and make new samples and try and make new t-shirts or make new sweatshirts, etc. So I'm just trying to build it at every point that I can. But it's going well. It's something that I like how it is at the moment. I'm keeping it as a hobby, and if I can build that hobby to actually be monetary, then that's the best way.
So you think the end? In fact, no, we won't get to the end goal yet. But would you say that? So what happens? How do you keep yourself going when the days where you're thinking, oh, I've not got enough time to put into this because my main work is calling me to do overtime, and you I don't know, some days you might realize that you've not really thought about it for 2 or 3 weeks. How do you then get back into the system?
Get on with it. Honestly, it's one of those things where if you don't do it, you that's one day and one chance that you've not spent on building your dream. So every point, even if it's one of those days that you really don't want to do, you've had a long day at work, just do it. Just grind that extra hour out. That's all it takes. If I can get to a point where I'm building Jun and actually making it happen more and more outside of work, then it's going to be a phase where I'm going to replace my working 9 to 5 for Jun. So I'm just building up to that point now. Exactly.
That's interesting. So you've had a pop-up as well, haven't you? So how did that come about?
So I've always been quite good at networking and meeting people, sort of through working in retail. It's one of those jobs where you've got no option but to meet new people and ask them what they do. And I think it might come from my mum. She used to ask every Tom, Dick and Harry like what they did when they came into the takeaway, like, oh, what do you do for a living, sort of thing. Like, and that, I think that's just rubbed off on me to feel comfortable asking people what they do. And I met this business owner whilst I was working in Reese, and became good friends with him.
Okay.
And his friend started a new business, which was last year when we had the pop-up. And he said, we're just opening our new shop. Would you be interested in potentially setting something up with me and coinciding? And it just went on from there, and said, yeah, I'd love to have a store space and put my clothes in there. Just let me know the logistics and we'll work something out.
So how did you find it? The whole experience?
Amazing. I think as a startup, it's a really good way of just getting your clothes out there initially, and potentially getting a store space to actually showing someone what you've made is probably one of the most exciting things to do, and taking a step back and just watching people browse through your clothes. Yeah, that was, I think that for
and knowing
me
that
was,
you were the one who did put the hard work
exactly. I think that's everything. That's the reason why I do Jun. Yeah.
Have you noticed that the more that you've given out and the more people you try to contact with, the more, even though like you mentioned, the people who might have questioned certain designs and why you're doing it, realize that the more that you've put out, the more people are actually coming to help you?
Yeah, I reckon so. I think it's one of those where when people think you're doing really well, they'll try and reach out and perhaps maybe ask for a t-shirt or something in return. But it's one of those things as well. Not everyone wants to help you, so you've got to go out of your comfort shell and ask those people if you need help from the guy. Like say like yourself, if you've got a photographer or something, and I know you've got a photographer, I'll always just go to you and ask if you know someone.
That's good. What would you say your favorite part of being a fashion designer? Or would you? Because you said you wouldn't call yourself a fashion designer, would you?
I definitely wouldn't call myself a fashion designer. I like making clothes, and if that's how you want to call myself, a clothes maker, not a fashion designer, I think that's how I'd call myself. Just because I'm not at the level of actually drawing the clothing out and actually making it from scratch yet, and making cut and sew. So I'm pretty happy with doing it the way that I'm doing at the moment, finding the manufacturers, making the designs and sending them what I want. So
do you think you'll do a pop-up again anytime soon?
Definitely. I think one of the hardest things is getting the right amount of stock on time and getting them all together collectively. So once I've got enough of that for my final collection, I'll do another pop-up for sure.
Also, how long would you say from the moment you want to make an order for something, how long would you say the whole process is to take? Because I've noticed that, like, people I've seen online and other people who are making their own products, they always say, there's been a delay on here and it takes X amount of weeks. How long would you say it is, and why do you think it's that long?
From start to finish. So how long have we been in lockdown?
About 3.5 months?
About 3 months. Yeah. So
Really?
I started making a new collection at the start of lockdown, and only just got to the part where I thought, you know what, that's what I'm happy with, which is this one. And after doing all the photography, etc., it'll be 3 months.
Wow. Is there a website we can go to if we want to see any products?
See, at the moment, I'm still developing it, and I quite like the fact that I've not got one yet until I've got all my clothing in that I think I'm going to have this, and run with that as a collection. Then I'm ready to make the website. Okay. But I'm still sort of in process of figuring out which garments that I like.
But for now, the beauty of it is you have Instagram where you can obviously post your things, and if people want to get in contact with you, they can.
Precisely. So that's how we're doing business at the moment, through direct messages and inquiries. A lot of it's through sort of friends of friends telling them about. And that's the way I like it at the moment, because I'm not ready to make big orders of 500-600 plus, because I've not got a warehouse to store it at the moment. I'm still storing it at home, but once I can make that jump, then everything will start to move quite quickly.
I think it's smart the way you're doing it as well, because there's no point having the website and you've rushed to the website and then you have your orders out, and then you either run out of stock, so people are having delays for X amount to cancel it, and then won't trust you as a brand because of how long it takes you. And another part is that your website might crash and people say, oh, I've only put on for, there's only 15 people, how's it crashing already? So it's like you're saying, it's better for you to take your time with it and build up, so you're at a point where you're good to go, you know everything's going to be alright.
Yeah, of course.
What would you say your 10-year goal, if I come to you again in 10 years, 5 years time, where should I expect to see you and John?
Well, hopefully in 10 years we'll have a store, a physical store, even though retail's changing as a whole. Sort of studying it over the past few years, it's obvious that everyone shops online, with Amazon sort of changing everything globally as a way of how we shop. Everyone wants things now and at an instant. So I'm aware that everyone wants to just shop online, but at the end of the day, people still like to come and see the product if they can and touch and feel it. So I think I'll have just a small store, hopefully one day, as a showroom, and potentially as my office space for John, and potentially put it in there and then work from there.
Okay. And so you'll be there, and do you think you'll have crossed over to the Asian market there as well?
Definitely. I'd say in 10 years, hopefully I have two or three stores globally, which would be ideal.
Yeah, that's the big dream.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to tell us before we wrap it up?
No, not much. Cheers for having us. It's been good sort of going through everything.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
So that's been Adam Lee, the creator of John, in for the second episode of Tikyiile Talks. I'll leave a link to his page and his Instagram. You can have a look down below. Thank you very much again, Adam. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, Tisha.
Thank you.